Welcome to the Punting is Winning podcast. Just two fans talking all things Hawkeyes. Here are your hosts, JD and Keith.
Back, Hawkeye fans, to Punting is Winning, the All Iowa podcast. Back again on another Sunday. Been a busy week in Hawkeye sports. 2 men's games, 2 women's games. There's been some baseball going on. I don't know that we're going to cover any baseball because I haven't really taken the time to evaluate how good they are. I know they've won a couple games. They've lost, I think they're 3-3. Maybe they're 3-4, something like that.
Yeah, they lost to Notre Dame one of the games. I know that.
Yeah, I lost that one in extras. They lost to South Florida, but I know they beat Stetson and they beat Maryland, Baltimore County, I think it was today. So, but we'll get into them more as the season starts to pick up and basketball starts to wane a little bit more. But let's go ahead and focus in on our question of the week last week, which was, what is Iowa's all-time record, men's basketball only, Iowa's all-time record against the Oregon Ducks, and when was the last time that they played in Iowa City, if ever? And I think a lot of people fell into the same trap that you had, when they did their research, and there was a website that had them at 1 and 2, and the most recent, or the furthest back that they had gone was 2012, I believe, was that first game, and I think Iowa won that one, and then they lost the next 2, or maybe they lost that one, won the next one, and of course, obviously, they lost that game in the NCAA tournament. 2020 year,
2021 maybe.
But that is not correct. You have to go back a little bit further. Iowa is actually, after going into the game against Oregon, was 6-2 against the Ducks, and they had played in Iowa City in 1948,
49,
December of 48. There was a few games series back in 48, 49, and the early 50s, if I remember correctly, would have been the 5 games prior to the most recent back in the 2010s, 2020s. So the correct answer now is Iowa is 6-3 against Oregon. A little foreshadowing to how they did this last week. But we'll get into that as well. But yeah, thanks for answering that. I kind of figured that was going to throw some people for a loop, because I think you and I even had it as 1 and 2 until I did a little bit deeper dive to it and found that other sports reference website that showed those games back in the 40s. So appreciate everybody chiming in on that. So what do you say we jump in and let's talk, what do you want to do? Talk men's hoops first?
Yeah, we can talk men's hoops first, but I got a special guest in the room with me. I want to show him. Hang on here. I'll take this off. There he is.
Levi, what's up, buddy?
He decided to join the broadcast tonight. He's such a good boy.
He is definitely that.
He's a good boy. Although he tore up some of Mama's gloves the other day and made her kind of mad.
Well, maybe she shouldn't leave him out.
She had him sitting on the curio.
Yep.
So he got up there somehow.
Anyway, so men's this week, 2 games this week, home games against Oregon and Washington. I'll let you take the lead there.
Yeah, Iowa played Oregon, was it Wednesday night?
Tuesday or Wednesday?
Tuesday or Wednesday. They lost to Oregon 80-78. Iowa was led by Peyton Sanford's 25 points, followed by Josh Dix with 19. Iowa's best rebounder was Laje Dembele with 6. Peyton Sanford's 5 assists led the Hawks. Evan Bronze had his best game as a Hawkeye. The team shot 49.1% from the field, 40.9% from 3, and 76.5% from the free throw line. Iowa was out-rebounded 36-27. Iowa did have a low of 7 turnovers. That was pretty nice. They really did take care of the ball pretty well. So after that game, Iowa falls to 14-11 and 5-10 in the conference. I don't know. My analysis of the game was that you saw a lot more
wait
of
a
the
minute.
bench than what you normally do.
Did they fall to 14-11 or 14-12?
Oh, maybe it was 14-12, and I wrote it down wrong.
Yeah, I think it was 14-12.
Yeah, it was 14-12 because they're 15-12 now after Washington. Yeah, it was nice to see some of the guys come off the bench. I saw, was it a lot of bronze, and he was pretty good. You know, he scored, I think, a game high. Well, not a game high, but his season high, 14. And that's probably the most we've ever, he's probably the most he's played too. But yeah, he seemed to be kind of a dynamic defensive player in there and actually produced on the offensive end too. So yeah, it was nice to see that. It was nice to see somebody step up and, at least take some of the burden off of Sanford and Josh Dix, because, they seem like they are the two that kind of take the team on their back, and as they go, so do the Hawks. But it was nice to see somebody else kind of step forward. Some of the other players on the team that I thought did well. Price did a good job. Mm-hmm. You didn't see a lot out of Traore a little bit. Thelwell was back, but he played limited minutes. You'll see that again in the next game. But you didn't see anything from Mulvey, I don't believe, on Wednesday.
I don't think he even played, did he?
He didn't. I don't know. I guess Iowa had opportunities to win the game. They kind of, I don't know if they ran out of gas at the end, but they just kind of lost their mojo. They were doing pretty good. It was, they were down at the half, but they fought back, took the lead, had a nice little lead. I don't know, it was 8 points maybe at one point. And then they just kind of lost momentum. And next thing you know, you look up and Oregon's ahead, and Iowa's struggling to get back in it. And
well, there's a lot of situations where end of shot clock desperation shots that just it's Iowa. You know it's going to go in.
Yeah,
it happened again. In the girls' game today. It's just you just know that's going to happen. The thing that I would question is, number one, why didn't we see Riley Mulvey at all? Why did Traore made a silly pass that led to a turnover? I think it was he tried to pass it to Dembele. Dembele wasn't looking, went out of bounds, and Fran pulled him out immediately, and he never got back in the game. And to me, that sets a bad precedent of, well, you screwed up, because everybody else screwed up too, and they didn't get a goal. And it just seems like, I feel like whether Fran's there or not, Traore's gone after this year. I don't think he's coming back after this year, because I think he's had a bad experience. Also. I think he's not been utilized the way he thought he would be, or he was told. I would agree that I don't think he's been utilized. I mean, what, did he play 3 minutes yesterday?
Yeah.
I question some of the substitution patterns, and yeah, you like going with the hot hands at the end, but you know what? The hot hands get tired, and you need to replace them and get somebody else in there to at least give them a minute or two to catch their breath on the bench. Even if it's, at the 5-minute mark, get Traore back in there, get a Mulvey in there for a couple minutes just to give Evan Braun's a chance, because, those guys are going to be dog tired at the end of the game. Yeah, I get it, because think about it. I think some of those guys are playing 40 minutes a game if they're not in foul trouble. So why not? Especially when you had a chance, you were keeping the game close, you had a lead. You saw it again yesterday where, guys that had never really been given much of an opportunity played major minutes in games. And guys that typically should be playing major minutes got 3 minutes, 8 minutes. I just don't get it. I don't understand what his thinking process is. If he's just, it's almost like I don't want to say he's intentionally sabotaging the game to lose them, but it's like he's not really coaching the games anymore. He's just kind of going through the motions and doesn't really pay attention to his substitution patterns. And that, to me, feels like a coach that's checked out. Again, I don't know that that's the case. I'm not going to speculate that that's the case. the way he's recruiting is not the way a coach that's checked out should be recruiting, but the way he's coaching is. I mean, just based on what I've seen. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, it's very odd. Some of the patterns he's going with reserves and putting them in and starting guys and then taking them out and then never putting them back in. It's disturbing to some degree. It's questionable all the way. I mean, I can't understand it like you. I kind of watch them, but I do like seeing the guys that don't play a lot getting a chance to contribute. But by the same token, you have to do those in small doses. You can't expect that a guy that's coming off the bench that maybe hasn't scored 20 points the whole season, you can't expect him to come in and be a contributor on the offensive end. He's just not going to be.
Well, he can contribute. He's just not going to be the savior that you want him to be.
Right. I mean, yeah, 14 points from Evan Braun's really good, but that's nice. Nice minutes, and nice points, but it's not going to, you're not going to be considered the third option when it comes to the offense.
Yeah.
It's Peyton, Josh, and then
probably Price.
Pick a person, whatever game we're playing. So, yeah, questionable substitutions. I don't know. Are the other players or are the other coaches on the team, are they allowed to input anything? I mean, or does he just ignore them? And because I would think that some of the nonsense that he's putting out there,
somebody would make a comment about.
Yeah, I mean, just say, "Hey, coach, Troy Orr's been sitting here for the last 27 minutes. Why isn't he in?"
Well, he committed the turnover. Well, you know what?
Well, I mean,
Peyton's
my God,
5.
I mean,
well, but Peyton's my best shooter. Well, you don't know what Troy Orr can do because you don't leave him in there long enough.
Yeah, he can't get into the flow
one
of the
your
game.
Better athletes.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't have the jump shot that a lot of the guys do, no. And he has a tendency to get a little foul happy at times.
Teach him to post up.
Yeah, I mean,
teach him.
That's why you're a coach. You coach players. You don't just accept the fact that what they are is what they are. You try to change them, to mold them to some degree to make them, you can as a coach, you can look at a player and know what their strengths and weaknesses are. And you either accentuate the strengths or you allow the weaknesses to continue, but you want to work on the weaknesses. I mean, you want to do that every day in practice. If it's a dribbling situation where they're not dribbling the ball well, then have them doing dribbling exercises and
free throw shooting.
Just have them doing those things. You can run your offense and still have guys working on certain individual skills.
I mean, if you're not coaching, you don't need the assistants. All you need to be is have the head coach out there to make the substitutions and tell the guys which ones are in, which ones are out. Because if you're not coaching them, they're playing the game the way they want to play it, and that's just it. You could talk to professionals and say that they're still getting coached even as a professional, and they're making millions of dollars, and they're learning things each year. Now, there may be exceptions to that. I'm sure, you get to guys like Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, and that point of their careers, there's probably not much you're going to be able to teach them. But you're talking guys that are college-age kids. If you should still be able to teach them things. And, maybe you've got like a Troy Orr who's, 6'7"? Okay, he's been more of a mid-range perimeter-oriented guy at Manhattan. Okay, teach him to post up. Teach him to hit that 8 to 10 foot jumper, use the backboard, whatever. Teach those things to him so that he becomes valuable and that he doesn't have that. You don't have that option of saying, well, he committed the turnover, I'm going to pull him out and he's played 3 minutes this game and that's it. I'm not putting him back in because I don't know what else I'm going to get out of it. Well, if you don't know what else you're going to get out of him, you're not coaching him. Plain and simple.
Yeah, I've played college sports myself, and when I was in my first 2 years at college, I had a coach that when we would go through our fall work in baseball, we go through our fall games and we'd have inter-squad scrimmages and that kind of thing. And when the winter came along and things kind of slowed down a little bit before we ramped back up for spring, he would bring everybody into his office and he'd have a piece of paper and he would say, okay, here's what I saw from you. Here's what I think you need to work on. Here are things I think you did very well. And so that was something that you took under advisement, and you went out during your individual workouts. You worked on the things that he said you were weak on, or the things that you needed to work on. And that's what we did. And, personally, I saw myself get tremendously better just by working on the things that I didn't know that I was doing wrong, or didn't know that my technique wasn't right. And so when I started to work with the coaches and working on technique, I got dramatically better. I got more velocity. I hit the strike zone more often. I could throw a decent change-up curveball a little bit. Those are the things that I was never able, and I could spot. I learned how to spot pitches, and this is an example of what, college, you expect that you can educate. These kids should be sponges. You're the coach. They're looking to you. They're looking to you to help them be better players. And I know he's probably working on that, and he's not a bad coach. I'm not saying that he is,
Yeah.
but I don't know if it takes longer as a basketball player to hone your skills, but it seems like that's something, if a person worked on it on a consistent basis, you'd get pretty good at it. And, under the advisement and observation of some coaches, they could spot little things that maybe you're doing wrong that you could do better.
Well,
even in your workouts.
The most important thing in teaching is the muscle memory. So
well,
if you're doing
certainly
it
for
daily,
pitcher in baseball, yeah.
Well, I mean, even with a shooter,
Yeah.
a muscle memory of how you perform your jump shot, it should be consistently the same every time, unless you're getting hacked. Obviously, I mean that's the situation there. But if that's the case, then why you shouldn't have a guy that's a terrible shooter from 5 to 10 foot. That's something that you should say, this is something you're working on. Do it on your own. We'll teach you the form. We'll get you, I want you to work on this where you're shooting, and you're shooting 100 shots and you're making at least 80 of them. At least 80 of them. And if you're not making 80 of them, next time you're out here, you're going to make 90. And just keep pushing that. But the accountability has to be on the individual too. And the coach has to be able to say, here's your deficiencies, here's what you need to work on, or here's what I can teach you. You got a guy like Matt Gatens on your staff who is a known shooter. Yeah, I get it. Iowa's a pretty good shooting team most of the time. Pretty good shooting 3-point team. But outside of Josh Dix, I don't know anybody on that team that really has a very good mid-range game at all. And that's something that everybody should have.
Right.
You should teach the mid-range game before you ever teach 3-pointers. But that's just maybe that's an archaic philosophy to have. But I've always considered, when it came to basketball and how basketball was taught to kids, it should be inside out, not outside in. And that's the problem is you've got this is no disrespect to Steph Curry's or the Caitlin Clarks of the world. That's what kids see, and that's what brings excitement right now. That and dunking. And when kids can't dunk, they're going to shoot threes. That mid-range game is not exciting. It's just fundamental basketball. Well, kids don't care about fundamental basketball. They want to be, look at me, look at what I can do. I just shot a 3-pointer and swished it, and I'm great. That's the sad part about professional athletes and the role model that they have on kids. And maybe that's the other thing, is maybe some of these guys just aren't as coachable as we think they should be. You say, you're talking about college kids being sponges. Yeah, that's true. But maybe they're telling them what to do and they're just not retaining it because they're like, I know what I'm doing. Then it's not on the coaches at that point. Maybe it's on the coaches. Maybe that's what is happening and why their minutes are being cut. I don't know.
Could be. Could be.
I don't want to
Could
speculate.
be that they're not putting in the effort that they think that they should be.
Yeah. But if it comes down to a situation where it's like, well, you committed a turnover and I pulled you out and didn't put you back in, even though I know you're one of my best athletes, that's a pretty poor way of coaching, because everybody commits turnovers.
Yeah, and that
if
guy
that's the
that commits
case,
a
Brock
turnover
Harding shouldn't be playing.
Yeah, if that guy commits a turnover, you never know. At the end of the game, he might hit a 3-pointer to win the game for you.
Mm-hmm. Or may block a shot or have
Yeah.
that defensive possession that wins the game. We'll never know.
Right.
Anyway.
So moving on Saturday, actually yesterday, Iowa took on the Washington Huskies, brought into Carver Hawkeye Arena, and Iowa came away with an 85-79 win. Iowa was led by Peyton Sanford's 27 points and 9 rebounds. Brock Harding led Iowa with 5 assists. Iowa shot 47.3% from the field, 47.6% from 3, and 88.5% from the free throw line. Those stats will get you a lot of wins. They did out rebound the Huskies only 29-28, but they did, while only committing 7 turnovers. So when you shoot the ball at 47% from 3 and 47% from the field and 88.5% from the free throw line, and you out rebound your opponent and you only have 7 turnovers, how do you lose? I don't think you can lose those numbers unless the other team's just absolutely going out of their head nuts with their shot.
Well,
but 85-79.
How do you lose? You play defense like Iowa plays defense sometimes.
Right.
And let's be fair. That 85-79 is probably a lot closer than the game really was at the end, because that guard for Washington hit a couple of heaved threes that I'm like, really? So, I pretty much looked at that as more of like a 10-point win.
Yeah. I really like the contributions of Carter Kingsbury. He had 29 minutes, played 29 minutes. That's got to be 4 times the amount he's ever played at Iowa. Riley Mulvey and Evan Bronze played well, even though Bronze only played like 9 minutes. I thought when he was in there, he was a good defensive stopper. Mulvey played only the second half. It's like he was not allowed to play the first half, but it's okay to come in the second half. I'm not sure what's going on there. But those 3 might be your best three defensive players on the team. Maybe.
Yeah. Well,
and they were playing good defense.
Healthy Drew Thelwell.
He only played, I think he played 8 minutes yesterday. So, yeah, if they're injured or if their abilities are diminished, I guess then you play them when you have to play them, and then you don't if you don't need them. Try to get them healthy for the last run on the season, because you've got 4 games left. You got 4 games left. You got Illinois. Michigan State, Northwestern, not in that order. It was Illinois, Northwestern, Michigan State, and then finish up at Nebraska. So those are your 4 games left.
The confusing part about yesterday was the 3 minutes from Trey Ori.
Yeah.
Again,
he started, played 3 minutes, then he never saw him again.
Yep. I just don't understand what's going on there. Again, not in the locker room, so we don't know, or not in practice. Maybe it is a lack of effort, or maybe he was sick. I don't know. Flu's been going around again. Maybe he got sick, or he got injured, or he's been playing injured and he just couldn't go. I don't know.
Okay, so Iowa moves to 15-12 and 6-10 in the conference. Iowa travels to Champaign, Illinois for a clash with the Illini on Tuesday, the 25th. That's just 2 days from now. Illinois is 17-11 on the season and 9-8 in conference. After Illinois, Iowa travels to Northwestern for a Friday night game. Northwestern is 14-13 and 5-11. I'd say you have a chance there.
You're battling Northwestern to keep that under that bottom 3.
Yeah. Yeah. The Washington win was huge.
That's a game you got to win on the road. Had you won the game against Oregon, you're probably pretty safe. I feel
safe-ish.
Yeah, but you're not. You didn't. I think you've got to. I think you've got to win 2 of the remaining 4.
I'd say let's start with 1 and see where we go from there. Yeah. Depends on the other bottom 3, because Washington's at the bottom, and then I think it's Penn State and Northwestern. So you've got to hope that Northwestern, Penn State, and Washington lose.
Well, the
problem if they lose, continue to lose. This week. It doesn't matter.
Penn State won too this last week.
Yeah, they're probably getting hot right now. That, there's a lot to think about when it comes to whether you're going to make the tournament or not, because I thought if they lost to Washington yesterday, and there for a while, it kind of looked like they weren't going to win, but they did kind of pull it off good in the second half. I thought at that point, if you don't beat Washington, it's over. You're going to fall below the line. One, you had the same record. You would have had the same record as Washington, but they'd have the tiebreaker over you. And now that since they lost, they are in dead last place, 18th. So, you're that close. A loss to them, and you fall below the line, I have a feeling. Just because of tiebreakers at this point.
Place. Well, not quite in last place because you'd have the tiebreaker at that point on Northwestern.
But depending on how we do with them coming up.
And Penn State.
Yeah. Well, you would have, you would have the tiebreaker over Penn State.
Yeah. To me, I think you got to win at least two. You got to win 2 games still.
Well, I think 2 for sure. I think 2 gets you safe. I think if you only win 1, you're going to have to rely on some other teams getting beat to get you in. In other words, you're not going to have your own. What do they say that?
You can't control your own destiny.
Your own destiny. Yeah. But if you win 2, I think you've already controlled your destiny at that point.
Well, speaking of winning 2, let's go to one that lost to heartbreaking style. To 2 top 10 teams.
Actually, it might even be top 7 teams now. Iowa had a rough week this week. They went 0-2. On Monday, if you remember, on President's Day, Iowa lost at Ohio State, 86-78 in overtime. Iowa was led by Lucy Olson's 27 points, 7 assists, while Sydney Falter grabbed 15 rebounds. Iowa shot 41.9% from the floor, 36% from 3, and 70.8% from the free throw line. Iowa out-rebounded Ohio State 41-34. Iowa committed 20 turnovers. Anytime you commit that many turnovers, it's not going to end up well for you, probably. Iowa was down by 12 points with about a minute and a half to go, and somehow figured out a way to complete the comeback and tied them at 75 to go to overtime. That was a heck of a comeback. I don't know. Did you watch any of that? Did you see it?
I had to work. I didn't get to watch it.
You had to work. You didn't get to see it. And that was quite a flurry of points that Lucy Olson kind of was hitting threes, and basically Iowa was putting in shots that normally don't go in. And but once they got to overtime, tied at 75, Iowa kind of ran out of gas, and Ohio State kind of took control. They were outscored 12-4 in overtime and lost 86-78. Iowa then moved to 18-8 on the season and 8-7 in conference. I don't know what I want to say about this game. It was an interesting game. Iowa was playing from behind virtually the entire game. Ohio State seemed to have control of the game. And then Iowa just, through a series of things that don't normally happen, they were able to miraculously come back from a 12-point deficit with a minute and a half to play. In fact, I think they were down 8 with like 30 seconds. And 30 seconds to make up 8 points is pretty tough to do. But also, Ohio State was making 1 out of 2 on their free throws, which then assisted Iowa to make the comeback too. If they would have hit 2 of 2, 2 of 2, 2, I don't think you would have had overtime. But, so a lot of things had to kind of come together for that. And, it was an interesting, fun game to watch, because I was kind of down on them a little bit when they fell behind, 12 points with a minute and a half. I said, well, it's over now. But I kept watching because I wanted to watch and see how it ended up. And then they just kind of started making 3-pointers out of nowhere, and Ohio State would turn the ball over or miss the free throws. And next thing you know, you look up and it's 75-73, and Iowa has a chance to go to the line, or was it 75-72 and Iowa hit 3 straight shots, or what? I know Lucy had got shot. No, it was 2. Yeah. Well, I think Iowa was behind 75-73 and 8.
Well, she hit 2 at the end of regulation because It was 86-78, and they outscored 12-4. They could only have had, it was 74.
Okay, 74. Okay, so they were tied at 74. But, Lucy Olson went to the side and got hammered by a girl and had to make 2 free throws to tie it. And she did make them. And, that was just like kind of reminiscent a little bit of today. Today, when she needed 3 points, we'll get into that. But, it seems like she is a kind of a clutch player when, other than the Nebraska game at Iowa City, where she missed 5 out of 6 free throws. That kind of cost us that game. But, she's been clutch lately. And I think she's learned where her role on the team is. And I think Sydney Falter's the same way. She's the rebounder and the tough girl and takes on, good defensive assignments. And Lucy's the shooter, the mid-range game.
The creator.
And the creator, yeah. It took them so long to figure that out. I don't know why. I think that everybody wanted to be one thing and couldn't be, and they were all trying to figure that out. But, kudos for them coming back and forcing it to overtime. And
on the road.
On the road on an 11 o'clock in the morning game for us in Central.
Against the 7th or 8th ranked team, 7th ranked team.
Yeah. I thought that showed a lot of heart and a lot of, intestinal fortitude to get in there and get that game to where at least you had a chance at the end. And, it didn't turn out the way you wanted it to, but, there's nothing with moral victories, but by the same token, you have to be proud of them for the way that they fought back. And I'm sure they would tell you that it was still a loss and then they're heartbroken about it. And that's how you should feel as a team. Moral victories shouldn't mean anything to you.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I like the fight and the hustle and they were getting all the loose balls, and it's like they really put out everything they had for that game.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't get to watch it. I kind of kept an eye on it on my phone as best I could. Kind of seemed like the very first half, at least the first quarter, Iowa couldn't throw the ball in the ocean, and that didn't help. But yeah, I did see that it was tied up, and then I got involved in something else at work, and then come back and saw that it was an 8-point loss. Just the simple fact that they were able to come back and tie the game on the road in an early start, hostile environment, top 10 team. That's all you can ask. They played well. They played their best, and
they fought hard.
No complaints, in my opinion, on their efforts.
No, absolutely not.
The 20 turnovers, cut that down by 2, you probably win the game.
Yeah, cut it by 5, and I think you win it handily.
Yeah.
But, those are opportunities that are missed every time you throw, have a turnover. But I don't know. I know this is kind of a rebuilding year, but, I like the fight. I like the leadership right now.
Mm-hmm.
And, with what Iowa has coming back for the next season, provided there's no transfers or anything like that, and there might be, I don't know. Plus what's coming in, I think the future is really pretty bright for Iowa. They'll be another top 25 team in the next, I don't know if it'll be next year, but it'll be the year after. Well, top 25, maybe top 10.
I look at it this way, and not to spoil the outcome of today, but in the 9 losses that they have, there hasn't been a single one of them by double digits. And several of them have been 1, 2, 3, 4-point games at the end. So it's not like they're, they're 18-9, but they've gotten blown out a couple of times, and they've had, a couple of 10-point losses here. No, these are close games that, you got to go back and look at. You're probably kicking yourself as a player, saying, one play here, one play there, and this is a completely different outcome. It's not, we had a stretch of 10 minutes where we just didn't play very well and we got beat by 10. No, this is a stretch of 30 seconds where we gave up an easy layup when we had a defensive breakdown that cost us a game. We lost by 2. or lost by 1. Like, we go back to that Oregon game. Just,
Yeah.
It's got to be frustrating to them, but they're right there, and they have the ability to make a run. If they play like they're playing now, they're not going to lose another game in the conference until, obviously until you get into tournament time, and anything can happen there.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that if you're one of the top 3 or 4, you don't want to see Iowa on your side of the bracket. Because
so let's talk about today's game against the number 3 Bruins of UCLA.
So today, Iowa tangled with number 3 UCLA. Iowa lost at Carver 67-65. Iowa was led by Lucy Olson with 17, Sydney Falter 11 rebounds, and Taylor Strumlow's 4 assists. Iowa shot 36.7% from the field. Not great. And they shot 35.3% from 3 and 78.9% from the free throw line. UCLA out-rebounded Iowa 43-34. Iowa took really good care of the ball this time, only committing 8 turnovers. So 8 turnovers as opposed to the Monday before when you had 20. I thought that's probably what kept them in the game. Iowa held a 36-29 halftime lead and had an early third quarter lead of 12 before UCLA went on a run to tie the game to start the fourth. This game came down to rebounds and defending the post. I think Lauren Betts, the 6'7" UCLA player, scored a game-high 22 points, and Iowa in the first half did not have an answer for her. The second half, they went to a double team in the post and daring UCLA to win the game from the outside, which they did not shoot the ball well. UCLA did not shoot the ball, the three-pointer, very well at all. I thought they played a great game. I thought the 12-point lead was, even I said something to the wife. I said, 12-point lead, it's going to be terrible to lose this with the 12-point lead. And, it just, you could just kind of see that the cream usually rises to the top. It just takes a while. And UCLA played good enough to win. I thought there were some questionable calls defensively or actually, to be honest, I thought the call at the end when they were tied at 65,
was terrible.
that Lucy Olson was literally tripped, fell on the floor, and the girl that she ran into got, they called a foul on Lucy. Well, if you go back and really watch that play, that girl from UCLA at the top of the key stuck her leg way outside of her body and tripped Lucy. Because Lucy was trying to play good defense, and she tripped her, and she fell to the floor and ran into the other player and got a call to foul. And they went up, made their 2 shots, and then Iowa couldn't come back, and they ran a play with 3.8 seconds left, and they threw the ball to Addie O'Grady at the 3-point line, and she turns and shoots air ball. That's not who you want in there, that position. She should be screening for you to get an actual shooter open. Somebody like Taylor McCabe or even Sydney Falter. Lucy Olson, of course, everybody knew she was going to try to get the ball to her, which I would. But that one hurts. That one sticks in my craw a little bit. I mean, you had 3.8 seconds. You had the ball on your end. All you had to do is inbound to somebody, and you had a 2 to tie it and a 3 to win it. I just thought the execution of that play was a little bit actually terrible, to be honest. Mm-hmm. And Lauren Betts, 6'7", she, of course, tallest player, probably one of the tallest players in college basketball, women's college basketball. And Iowa was trying to front her, and they would throw the ball over Hannah, and the girl would just turn and shoot, score. And it seemed like that happened quite a bit early. They brought in Addie O'Grady. She's not as quick as Hannah is, and I think she got exposed. She did hit some shots. She got some mid-range shots down and kind of helped Iowa kind of keep in the game. I know at one point, I think they were down 10-4. But yeah, the next time you see Lauren Betts in UCLA, she's getting double teamed in the second half, and she didn't have quite as good a game because I think she had like 14 in the first half and ended up with 22. But I think that strategy worked. The problem is that you were leaving another player from UCLA open for a three potentially. Now, one good thing is they didn't hit it very well today, but they hit the shots when they needed to.
Well, going back to your comment about the officiating, I saw a few times where it just was so inconsistent. I remember one time they got the ball in to Lauren Betts, and she kicked it back out to the shooter, and then they kicked it right back to her, and she went up with her left elbow and literally jacked Addie right here in the throat. Cleared enough space, put up a shot, no call. That happened like 3 times.
Yeah.
The other thing that kind of bothers me is I watched several times where I don't know that Lauren Betts ever got out of the paint. I mean, she literally could have pitched a tent in there, slept, camped, fished, cooked, everything, and they wouldn't have called it. And then if you allow somebody to set up camp in the lane that's that big anyway, it already has that much of an advantage, you're not going to stop it. That's why there's that rule in place that you cannot be in that lane for more than 3 seconds. They seem to disregard it. The other thing that bothered me was a lot of contact on one end and touch fouls on the other. And again, I'm not saying that the officiating is to blame for the loss. However, it was not good. And it's not good in the Big Ten Conference anyway. I think that the game is just too fast for the officials. But you've got to be consistent. I mean, if you're going to allow contact on one end and not on the other, you're deciding the game then. And that's never what an official should be. And like you said, that last call, that was literally the refs decided the game on that play.
Yeah.
And that was almost the exact same call that Iowa got the year before in the NCAA tournament against UConn, where the girl stuck the hip out, come out of the frame of what would be a legal screen,
mm-hmm.
and it was called the other way.
Right. I
just think that a lot of times there's so much money involved that conferences want specific teams to win, because if they keep them up high, UCLA's, right now you're looking at winning out. UCLA and USC are potential both number 1 seeds. And
well, they won't win out because they play again.
Want that? Yeah. I mean, so why wouldn't the Big Ten Conference want that?
Right.
So we don't want upstart Iowa being, they're only going to be like an 8 or 9 seed. We don't need that.
Right.
Well, I don't like that. I don't, and maybe I'm just a conspiracy theorist. I don't. But that's just what it seems like at times to me, is calls are so egregiously bad that it can't be anything else. But I digress.
Quick question for you. When I look at the game stats, team stats, I look down and I see personal fouls. Who had the most personal fouls, UCLA or Iowa?
Well, UCLA had quite a few called in the first half, but I know in the third quarter, they didn't get the first foul called until there was about a minute left in the third quarter. And Iowa was already over like 6 at that point. So I'm guessing that you're going to tell me that UCLA had more fouls called on them.
Yeah, 21-17.
But, and I think you and I talked about it a little bit through text. I said, this kind of reminds me, they play basketball like the Michigan State men's basketball team does. They foul on every possession, and they just dare the officials to call it. And they won't. So. Yeah.
Iowa falls to 18-8 and 8-8 in the conference. Iowa has 2 regular season games left. What's that?
It should be 18-9.
Are they 18-9?
Yeah.
Okay. I just thought I saw that they were 18-8, but maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, so Iowa has 2 games left. They have at Michigan on Wednesday, and then they come home for the season finale, the regular season finale, with Wisconsin on Saturday, or on Sunday next week, actually, a week from today. and that'll be the end of it. And then Iowa really should try to get. I mean, they really need to get both wins, but I get it if they only get the one. But the Big Ten tournament starts on March 5th. It's coming up. So need to get in good shape before that. Kind of get things righted.
Iowa's a team that you don't want to see in the tournament.
No.
No. Especially if you're a team like Michigan State or Illinois or Indiana, who they lost to earlier. I don't think you want to see them now.
No.
Yeah, Oregon.
Yeah. And did you know that the Big Ten tournament is at Gainbridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis? The home of the Fever.
There this year.
Yeah. Okay. So that'll be fun to watch. Hopefully Iowa does pretty well there, and then they can get a better seed in the NCAA tournament, which would start probably right after that, like on the 11th, 12th, 13th, something like that. Yeah, I don't. Anything else you want to talk about? Any other sports?
No, like I said, we touched a little bit of baseball earlier. Baseball season started. I haven't even had a chance to see how the softball team's done. I know they weren't good the first couple of games of the year. I haven't seen anything since then. I usually rely on tweets and whatnot to keep my eye on that. But
yeah, we'll get more into that as the season progresses.
It's been busy enough that I have not had a chance to really look.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, you ready for the question of the week for this week?
Yes.
Okay. Before the Caitlin Clark era, when was the last time the Iowa women played in the Final Four? Give me the year and give me the result of that Final Four appearance. That's all you need. Just there it is. This is an easy look up too, by the way.
Yeah. And the result is pretty self-evident when you consider the fact that the last 2 years were the only times they've ever played in a championship game. So, but I think when you're saying result, you want to know what the final score was and who they played.
I want to know who they lost to in the semifinals, and if you can give me the score and other pertinence, that'd be good.
Okay.
Let's be a shorter one tonight.
Yep. All right, yeah, let's get things wrapped up. We'll make sure you catch us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, all the usual medium. Make sure you like and comment on this. Make sure you subscribe if you're not already subscribed. We do appreciate the views that you give us and the comments that you put out there. Would love to get a lot more engagement as we go forward with this. Just again, I think we say it every time. Tell us what you like, what you don't like. We're open to suggestions. Other than that, we do have our merchandise store that we're donating our proceeds to the Iowa Swarm. Some good quality stuff here. Wear it around town, promote the show. Maybe we get a little bit more viewership out of that. I know I wear mine around town, but it's just a t-shirt at this point, and not really t-shirt weather yet. So when
maybe this
spring
week
hits, it'll be a little bit easier, but that's remains to be seen. So.
Well, I'm looking forward to this week. It's supposed to be in the 50s almost all week, and I am looking forward to it so I can get outside and get some things done that I've been, the weather's been not great, and I've just been putting it off because I didn't want to go out and freeze. So, yeah. I want to get out and get some things done in the nice warm weather.
Fortunately or unfortunately, however you want to look at it, I will be in Florida most of the week, so I won't be able to do much here, but I'll try to watch the game Tuesday night from the hotel room, so I'll make sure to take my iPad so I can watch it on the Big Ten app.
There you go.
So, all right, well, let's wrap it up on that and finish up with a ever popular Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.